You know what's fascinating? The people who get walked over the most in life aren't the mean ones, aren't the difficult ones. They're the nice guys. The ones who smile through disrespect, who say yes when they mean no, who prioritize everyone else's comfort over their own dignity. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to tell you. Being nice is destroying your life. Not kindness, there's a difference, but niceness. That performative, conflict-avoiding, people-pleasing behavior that you've been told makes you a good person. It doesn't. It makes you invisible, forgettable, and easy to exploit. If you've ever felt like people don't take you seriously, if you've watched less qualified people get promoted while you stay stuck, if your relationships feel one-sided and exhausting, then this video is going to make you uncomfortable. But if you're ready to stop being the person everyone likes but nobody respects, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to dismantle everything you've been taught about being agreeable. Let's start with a hard reality check. When you ask a disagreeable person what they want, they'll tell you immediately, no hesitation. This is what I want, and this is how I'm going to get it. Clear, direct, unapologetic. But ask a nice guy, especially someone who's really agreeable, and you'll get this blank stare, this uncomfortable pause. Because here's what's actually happening. They don't even know what they want anymore. They've spent so much time figuring out what everyone else wants, making other people comfortable, avoiding conflict, smoothing over tension, that they've completely lost touch with their own desires. Think about that for a second. You've become so good at reading the room, at adapting to other people's needs, that you've forgotten how to listen to yourself. And society tells you this is noble, that this is what good people do. But let me ask you something. How's that working out for your career? Because I'll tell you right now, you cannot build a successful career by being agreeable. It doesn't work. While you're busy making sure everyone else is comfortable, the disagreeable people are negotiating harder, asking for more, taking what they want. They're not waiting for permission. They're not worried about being liked. Here's where it gets really interesting. On average, men and women aren't that different in terms of agreeableness. But when you look at the extremes, and the extremes are what actually matter in the real world, the picture changes completely. The most agreeable people? Almost all women. The disagreeable people? Almost all men. And you can see this reflected everywhere. There are way more men in prison, and the best personality predictor of being imprisoned is being low in agreeableness. It makes you callous, willing to step over people to get what you want. Now, I'm not saying you should become a criminal, but here's what you need to understand. Agreeableness is essentially a trading game. When you're highly agreeable, you bargain harder on behalf of other people than you do for yourself. You'll fight tooth and nail to make sure someone else gets a fair deal. But when it comes to your own interests, you'll accept scraps. You'll take less than you deserve. You'll rationalize why it's okay that you got the short end of the stick. Meanwhile, the disagreeable person looks at the same situation and thinks, I'm in this for me. You can take care of yourself. And this is where nice guys get absolutely destroyed. You line up to be exploited. You actually volunteer for it. And I think the reason is biological. You're wired to be exploited by infants. Think about it. A baby cries, you respond. A baby needs something, you drop everything. That instinct to prioritize someone else's needs over your own survival, it's phenomenal when you're raising children. It's catastrophic when you're negotiating your salary or trying to establish boundaries in your relationships. This is why so many people end up in therapy. They come in because they're miserable, burned out, resentful, and when you dig into it, they're too agreeable. They don't know how to say no. They don't know how to advocate for themselves. And what they get in therapy is assertiveness training. Though it's not really about being assertive, it's about learning how to negotiate on your own behalf. It's about learning that your needs matter just as much as everyone else's. Here's what I tell people who struggle with this. Say what you think. Tell the truth about what you actually believe. Yes, there are going to be thoughts in your head that seem harsh, that feel mean, that make you uncomfortable. And they probably are harsh, but they're also probably true. And you need to bring those thoughts to the surface and deliver the message. This is not natural for agreeable people. You hate conflict. You smooth the water. You keep things calm. And I get it. Conflict around vulnerable people, around children, is dangerous. You don't want fights breaking out. You don't want anything disturbing the peace. But here's the problem with that strategy. It's terrible in the medium to long term. Because there are things you have to talk about. There are issues that won't go away just because you ignore them. And when you constantly avoid conflict to keep the peace in the short term, you're setting yourself up for massive explosions later. Or worse, you're setting yourself up for a lifetime of quiet resentment, where you never get what you want and you blame everyone else for it. Let me give you a real-world example of what happens when you successfully socialize a disagreeable person. These people don't let much get in their way. If you can take a kid who's naturally disagreeable and teach them social skills, teach them how to play well with others while maintaining their edge, that person becomes unstoppable. They're forward-moving by nature. They're very difficult to stop. They know what they want and they go after it, but they've learned how to do it in a way that doesn't alienate everyone around them. But here's the flip side. If you don't successfully socialize a disagreeable kid by the time they're 4 years old, their peers reject them. And that's a massive problem. Because your job as a parent, and a lot of people don't realize this, is to make your child socially desirable by age 4. Not popular, not the most liked, socially desirable. Capable of interacting with other children and adults in a way that makes people want to be around them. Imagine you've got a 3-year-old, halfway through that critical socialization period. You take that child out in public. What do you want? You want other children to smile, to be welcoming, to want to play with your kid. You want adults to be genuinely happy to see your child, not just putting on fake smiles. But if your child is a little monster because you were afraid to discipline them, afraid to set boundaries, afraid to be the bad guy, then what happens? That child experiences nothing but rejection from other children and false smiles from adults. You're throwing them into a world where every face they see is either hostile or lying to them. Now imagine being a nice guy adult. You're essentially doing the same thing to yourself. You're so afraid of conflict, so desperate to be liked, that you never develop the social skills to actually command respect. And just like that 4-year-old who doesn't get socialized properly gets left behind by their peers, you get left behind professionally and personally. The gap just keeps growing. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, I see myself in this. I've been too nice. I've let people walk over me. Good. That awareness is the first step. But if you want to actually transform this pattern, if you want to learn exactly how to set boundaries, handle conflict, and advocate for yourself without becoming an asshole, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because we're going deeper into this in future videos. This is just the beginning. Here's something fascinating about male development. Aggressive 2-year-old boys get socialized, so their aggression goes down. Then they hit puberty, testosterone kicks in, and boom, aggression spikes back up. That's why males commit the most crimes between ages 16 and 25. But here's what's cool. This matches the creativity curve almost perfectly. That same testosterone-driven aggression that can lead to criminality is also what drives innovation, risk-taking, creativity. It's not the testosterone that's the problem, it's whether or not that energy is channeled productively. And around age 25 or 26, something shifts. Men stop staying out late, stop drinking as much, develop full-time careers, take on responsibilities associated with long-term partners and families. That raw, predatory aggression gets transformed into protective, productive ambition. But here's the key. The disagreeable men who learned social skills early become leaders. The nice guys who never developed any edge become followers. They become the ones implementing other people's visions instead of pursuing their own. So what do you do about this? How do you stop being the nice guy without becoming an insufferable jerk? First, you need to investigate viewpoints that oppose your natural tendencies. If you're highly agreeable and introverted, study extroverted, disagreeable people. Watch how they navigate social situations. Look at how they advocate for themselves. They'll show you ways of being in the world that don't come naturally to you, but that you can add to your toolkit. Here's a practical exercise. If you're too agreeable, do something for yourself once a day at someone else's minor expense. Not something cruel, just something that prioritizes your needs over someone else's convenience. Maybe that means saying no to a request that would overburden you. Maybe it means speaking up when someone cuts in line. Maybe it means negotiating for what you're actually worth instead of accepting the first offer. You're trying to wake up circuits in your brain that have been dormant. You have the capacity for healthy disagreement, it's just atrophied from lack of use. Generally speaking, you should find a niche in the environment that corresponds with your temperament. Don't work at cross purposes to who you naturally are. That's exhausting and ineffective. But once you've found that niche, work on developing the skills and viewpoints that exist in the opposite space, because that's where you're fundamentally underdeveloped. If you're agreeable, learn to be disagreeable so people can't push you around. If you're disagreeable, learn to be agreeable so you're not alienating everyone who could help you. Think of it like building a richer toolkit. If you're hyper-extroverted, learn to shut up at parties sometimes and actually listen. If you're introverted, learn to speak in public without hiding in the corner. If you're too conscientious, learn to relax and let go. If you're unconscientious, get a calendar and start scheduling your day. Beat yourself over the head with discipline until you can stick to something for a meaningful length of time. Here's something else to consider. When you're choosing a partner, don't choose someone who's too distant from you on these temperamental variables. An introverted person and an extroverted person will have a hard time coexisting. An orderly person and a disorderly person will drive each other insane. Why don't you pick up? Why are you so obsessed with cleaning? That's the basic argument that'll dominate your relationship. You don't want someone exactly like you. Then you lose the benefit of alternative viewpoints. But you need enough overlap that you can actually understand how the other person sees the world. I've seen this particularly among couples who are high and low in openness or high and low in conscientiousness. They just cannot comprehend each other's reality. Look, the bottom line is this. Being nice is not the same as being good. Being nice means avoiding conflict, keeping everyone comfortable, never rocking the boat. Being good means having the courage to tell the truth, to set boundaries, to advocate for what's right even when it's uncomfortable. Nice guys finish last not because the world is unfair, but because they never actually compete. They never put themselves in the game. They're so busy making sure everyone else is okay that they forget to take care of themselves. And here's what nobody tells you. People don't actually respect niceness. They appreciate it in the moment. Oh, he's so agreeable, so easy to work with. But they don't respect it. Respect comes from knowing someone has boundaries, from knowing they'll stand up for themselves, from knowing they won't just roll over when things get difficult. So stop being the nice guy. Stop prioritizing everyone else's comfort over your own dignity. Stop avoiding conflict because you're afraid people won't like you. The truth is, the people worth having in your life will respect you more when you start advocating for yourself. And the people who get upset when you set boundaries, those are the people who are benefiting from you not having any. This is uncomfortable to hear, I know. It goes against everything you've been taught about being a good person. But effectiveness matters more than intentions. What you accomplish matters more than what you meant to do. And if you keep being nice at the expense of being effective, you're going to wake up 10 years from now wondering why your life doesn't look like you wanted it to, why you feel so resentful, why nobody seems to value what you bring to the table. You have permission to want things. You have permission to say no. You have permission to prioritize your own needs without feeling guilty about it. That's not selfishness. That's basic self-respect. And until you develop that, until you're willing to be disagreeable when the situation calls for it, you're going to keep getting walked over. So that's it. That's the message. Stop being the nice guy. Start being effective. Start being someone who knows what they want and isn't afraid to pursue it. The world doesn't reward niceness. It rewards competence, confidence, and the willingness to advocate for yourself. If you made it this far and this resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. There's another video on screen right now that digs even deeper into how to set boundaries and handle conflict effectively. Click on it and keep this momentum going. You've already started the process of changing just by watching this. Don't stop now. I'll see you in the next one.